Good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started just as usual, seated or standing. Either way, just make sure you're lengthening through that spine there. And we're going to do 10 chin tucks back. Let's get ready and begin. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, keep that length through the spine. Here, we do our head turns next. Here we go. Turn, center, turn, center. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good. Just like last week, we're going to go into this 2 rounds. We're going to do A, B for each exercise. So we're going to do 2 rounds of 2 exercises before we move on to the next 2. So I'll guide you through it. I will be seated for the first round. So I'm going to do seated cat-cow. You can stand and rest your hands on the chair if you prefer that way. Okay. My hands are on the tops of my thighs here. Let's get ready and begin. So we're rounding the spine, tucking the chin, and then reversing that pattern. Okay, we're thinking of mobilizing the spine here, waking it up. We're not forcing anything. We're taking it to where it wants to go and just creating like kind of like a fluid movement pattern here, okay? We have about 5 more seconds here. 3, 2, and 1. Ooh, that's noisy today. 4 count cherry pickers are next. So our feet are coming outside the width of our shoulders, seated or standing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to reach outward, middle, in, and back up. Out, middle, in, up. Okay. You don't have to reach the floor if your body doesn't want to go there. Again, we're just taking it through where it wants to move. A dynamic warm up here. Just trying to get those joints, get a little blood flow to the joints here. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, we're going to go back to cat-cow. Okay, so we're going to do those 2 exercises 1 more time each before we move on to the next 2. All right, so I'm going to go to standing for this next round, okay? All right, here we go. So you can remain seated if you prefer that. I'm not pushing anything past where it wants to stop at. Okay, this is just dynamic warm up here. We want to loosen up the muscles. If we try to push them too hard, we actually tighten them up. Okay, kind of seize them up. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, 4 count cherry pickers, and then we move on. Okay, so this round I'm doing standing. My feet are outside the width of my shoulders. And here we go. I'm reaching out, middle, in, up. Proper warm up and cool down is always important with our workouts. We want to ease ourselves into it and then ease ourselves out of the work that we do. 2 and 1. Okay, next we are going to lateral side step with lateral raise here. Okay, I'm going to do seated round 1. So I'm coming out to my lateral tap. Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to work on some shoulder external rotation. The standing variation, it's a no money drill. My palms are up. All right, I'm our heel tapping forward as we're keeping our elbows glued to the rib cage. Okay, stretching and strengthening through the internal and external rotators of the shoulder. All right, we have 3 more seconds here, 2 and 1. Now we're going to go back to our lateral side step with the lateral raise, seated or standing. I'll go to standing for the second round. 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. Just coming, the elbows are coming up to shoulder height here. Warming up the shoulders, the sides of the glutes. Woo, 5 more seconds. And time, okay. Going back to that heel tap with the no money drill, palms up, elbows stay as close to the rib cage as possible as we go ahead and swing those palms out. Really good for shoulder health and posture correction. We're often tight right through here and weak through the back. And this movement helps stretch the front and tighten the back, okay? And we're adding the extra heel tap in to warm up the ankles and the knees slightly here. Okay, last set is knee raise and pull down, okay? So I'm going to do round 1 seated. Here we go. Warming up the back muscles, core, the heart rate is coming up slightly. Ten more seconds here. Two and 1. Good. And now we're going to do the reverse of that. We're going to do a pull back and a kick back with the leg here. Okay. You're seated, you're coming to the edge of the chair, and it's more of a toe tap. Okay. Just because of the nature of being seated, it's a little bit harder to get the heel back. Almost there. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, one more round of those 2. I'm going to move to standing here, going back to our knee raise and pull down. And 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. Taking your joints through the range of motion. 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Pull back and kick back now. Okay. And 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. Remember, if you're seated, it's a little more of a, you're sitting on the edge of your chair and it's more of a toe tap because it's a little bit harder to get that flexed foot to get the heel back. We're just looking for that knee flexion. Okay. I'll warm up the hamstrings here. 3, 2, and 1. Good. All right. Warm up complete. All right. So we're going to go into our cardio block here to keep on elevating that core body temperature. So nothing has changed from last week. It's 40 seconds of work, 10 seconds of transition as our guide for 3 rounds, 3 exercises. We start with our 3, 2, 1, step, switch, 3, 2, 1, step, switch. Okay. When you're seated doing it, we don't have to worry about the step, switch because we can just easily transition to the other side. Okay. So that's the only difference with that one there. After that, we're doing our sit squat. So standing variation, up, tap it down, drive it up, tap it down. Where is the weight in our foot? It's in our heel, right? As we drive up off our seat, we want to press our heels down into the floor to help activate our glutes, okay? Our seated variation, alternating leg extensions, okay? And then our final one is a modified jumping jack, okay? If arms like this do not work for you, you can go ahead and pull them back instead. Sometimes overhead's a little tricky for, you know, impinged shoulders, okay? Standing, you know, same idea here. Flexed foot, you're gonna feel a little more muscle activation. Toe tap is a little less. You probably can increase your speed a little bit here, okay? And if you're advanced, you can add some regular jumping jacks into that mix, okay? All right, round one, I am doing seated. We're starting with our 3-count knee repeater and then switching. Let's get ready. 40 seconds is going on the clock. In 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. So remember, since I'm seated, I don't have to do the step switch, okay? Remember, our time is just a guide as we build up some accumulated fatigue through the workout. If you need to stop early or start a little late for some extra recovery time or some extra water, go ahead and do so. And time. Okay, sit squats are next. All right. Let's go ahead and begin in 3, 2, and 1. Since I'm doing the seated variation, I'm doing my alternating leg extensions. Remember, quality over quantity here, okay? You wanna make sure that you're activating the muscles as intended, and sometimes slowing the movement down and focusing on controlling yourself sitting down and then controlling the muscle contraction as you drive up. You're gonna get a deeper mind-muscle connection. And with that, when you have that deeper mind-muscle connection, it's easier to develop your muscular strength. 2, and 1. Okay, the last one in this tricep is our modified jumping jacks, okay? Here we go, and begin. Remember, if these arms are no good, you can take them to pull back instead, okay? Or maybe you even just come up halfway, all right? This is the bottom of round 1. The next 2 rounds I will do standing, but if seated is best for you, you can stay there. If that's what you're doing. 10 more seconds here. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, we're going back to our 3-count knee repeater. So now I'm going to add that step and switch because I'm moving to standing here. Okay, ready? Begin. It's 1, 2, 3, back, forward. 1, 2, 3. So it just sets us up for the other foot. Good, 10 more seconds. And time, okay. Going back to sit squat, or if you're seated, you're doing your seated leg extensions, okay, alternating. Feet are about shoulder width apart. I'm gonna go ahead and tap it down, drive through my heels, squeeze and engage. Control it on the way down, drive up. Okay, I'm trying to feel when I'm coming up, I'm trying to feel that the front of my legs are squeezing, that I can feel the muscles squeezing, and through my glutes too. I'm trying to control the pace on the way down too. I don't want to just plop down. because that means I'm not using any muscles to help myself control on the way down, okay? 2 and 1. Woo. All right, modified jumping jacks are next. You might feel your heart rate coming up. You might feel a little more breathless. Take your drinks as you need it, okay? Here we go. I'd say there's 4 levels to this. You have your seated variation, you have your pointed toe tap variation, your flexed foot variation, and then peppering in a few regular ones, okay? So there are your variations. You can rotate through them. You can pick 1, you can pick 2, all right? Well, however, you need to tailor it for your specific body, okay? And comfort level. And time. Whew. All right, take your drinks. We've got 1 more round. You might be feeling a little elevated here, so just remember, about a 5 to 7 on a scale of 1 to 10, you want to be feeling like you're working at. We're doing now is the last time in this circuit. 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Moving back to our sit squats. Feet are about shoulder width apart here, okay? Or you could do your alternating leg extension. 3, 2, and 1. Control it on the way down. Drive on the way up through the heels, right? Squeezing the quadriceps and the glutes. It's really important to develop that mind-muscle connection, and it takes time and consistency to get there, but you know you're on the right path. You can feel that contraction. You're telling that muscle to contract, and you're like, okay, I feel it when I'm telling it to. That's a good indicator you're on the right track. And time, okay, all done with those. Last set of modified jumping jacks here. Remember, you got those 4 levels to choose from: seated, standing with the toe tap, flexed with the foot here, or some regulars peppered through, okay? And you can change the arms to a T-fly if that's better. I seem to really like the flexed foot variation. I really feel my side glute working here. They're good stabilizer muscles, which help with our core control and balance. Also get a nice little inner thigh stretch here too. We're often tight through that area. 2 and 1. Whew, okay. Well done with that cardio block there. Hopefully you are feeling nice and warm at this point. Go ahead and get a drink. Let your heart rate come back down. All right, no changes to this block either. Just like we did last week, we are doing our alternating lunges. So if you're seated, we're gonna be towards the edge of our chair, and we're alternating that leg press, pressing some imaginary heavy object away with the heel of our foot. For lunges, we're holding onto the back of the chair, or even just to the side of the chair, okay, if you're somewhere in between. Okay, remember, we can break it up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you want to get a nice tempo, and you don't want to be rushing through it so quickly that you lose the muscle contraction on each leg. Okay, remember, we want that heel of the front leg to stay connected to the floor, and we're predominantly working that front leg when we're lowering and coming up. Okay, all right, and then after that, we have our hinge row up. Okay, so a combination of a posterior chain exercise for the glutes and the hamstrings when we hinge, okay? And then we're also working the posterior chain, the lats, and the upper body when we row, okay? And then that looks the same seated. And then the last one, 2 options. You're at seated or standing, single, single, double, okay? And then repeating that sequence. However, if overhead pressing is not good for you, we're gonna do single, single, double bicep curls, okay? Repeating that pattern, all right? So let's go ahead and get started with our alternating lunges. You can hold on to the back of the chair or the side of the chair or completely body weight if you're advanced, okay? I'm gonna do the seated variation, my seated leg press. 45 seconds is going on the clock. Let's get ready for the second block. And here we go. In 3, 2, and 1. So we're alternating that lunge or that leg press. This is an excellent seated option here. You guys know I like this one a lot because you really, by scooping and almost C-curving your abdomen here, you really feel your core working as well as the entire leg, the front and the back of the leg. Next, have your weights or even imaginary weights. You don't even have to use them if you don't want to or don't have them. All right, we're going into our hinge to row next, okay? You're just gonna focus on that mind-muscle connection if you're not using weights, okay? You're still gonna focus on it if you are using them, but all right, so I'm seated here. I'm at the edge of my chair. Okay, my feet are under my hips, toes are forward, all right? We're getting ready to hinge it down, row, elbows stay close to the body, and then come back up. I like this combination, not only because you get the lower body and the upper body, you get 2 exercise movements in one, but it also helps kind of like sometimes leaning forward for prolonged periods of time can cause a little lower back discomfort. And this helps break up that leaning forward position, . 3, 2, and 1. Okay, next we have single, single, double overhead press. And in fact, I didn't say this when I was demoing, but let's do neutral grip, which means my knuckles are facing either side of the wall here. A little safer on the shoulder joint here, okay? So it's single, single, double, okay? Remember, if your body, if your shoulders are not into pushing weight overhead, you're doing single, single, double. You're doing the bicep curls instead, okay? Good, less than 10 seconds here, and that's round 1. 2, and 1. And maybe you want a little variety. Maybe you do a shoulder one, and then this next round you do a bicep, and then the next round you do a shoulder. You can mix it up if you want to, put a little more to it. We're back to the top, starting with our alternating lunges. Okay, so I'm just going to use my imaginary chair here. So step it back, lower down, drive through the heel, return. Remember, you don't want to rush through the movements, okay? You want intentional, precise, quality movement patterns. And it takes time for your, for your neuromuscular system to remember those patterns correctly, so just focus on doing it right, because however you learn it and however you keep on repeating it is going to be, what your body moves to, automatically does first. So you want to make sure you're learning correctly, right? Hinge to row, feet under the hips, toes are forward. We're gonna hinge, row, squeeze the glutes to return up, okay? So working the back and the upper body, and working the back and the lower body as well. Hamstrings, glutes, and lats. I'm not locking my knees out. There's a slight bend. It's a very minimal bend, but I don't want to lock them out. We're just increasing our chances of injury if we keep them like locked out completely here. And time. Okay, back to single, single, double, either overhead press or a bicep curl, okay? You're standing, I want you to make sure you're squeezing your glutes, thrusting your hips forward slightly, and that's gonna help protect your lower back, okay? Single, single, double. If you find your lower back is bothering you either way, try seated, okay, if you're not already there. In some ways, seated's a little more challenging because you don't have the help of your core as much, okay? Remember, the name of the game is control on these movements. You want to be in control and in charge of these movements. And time. Okay, we have one more round to get through of these 3 movements, and then we move on. So starting with our alternating lunges or seated leg press for the final round, okay? I have an imaginary chair here. I have to keep on moving it around. Let's get ready and begin. Remember, you can 4 count it. 1, 2, 3, 4. That helps get you to, you know, get the proper movement pattern, you know, a little more precise, count it out. That's how, when I'm in the learning phase of new exercises, that's what I do. I know if you've been with me for a while, we've been lunging for a while, you may not need to do that anymore, and that's great. You know, that's progress. Less than 10 seconds here. 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. Final round of hinge and row, okay? Seated or standing, my feet are underneath my hips, my toes are facing forward. When I'm standing, here we go. I'm gonna push my hips back so everything stays neutral through my back. I'm gonna row. Almost there, 5 more seconds. 2, and 1. Okay, final round of single, single, double, either overhead press or bicep curl. If you're standing, remember, tuck and squeeze the glutes, okay? If that still creates too much pressure on your lower back, go to seated. Here we go. Single, single, double. We break after this. Five more seconds. And time. Okay, guys, good. Go ahead and take a rest here. We are moving into our 1, 2, 3, our fourth block here. We have 5 blocks all together. This is another cardio block here. Okay, so we're back on in 40 seconds of work, 10 seconds of transition. Again, that's a guide. You can take more rest as you need it. Always get your drinks when you need it. And there's only one thing that's changed out of this. Instead of total body extensions this week, we're going to go back to, remember, and use a lighter weight if you have. I think when we're doing our ham curl and our tricep kickback, when the weight is actually a little bit lighter for this particular movement, you have the ability to feel the mind muscle connection in the back of the arm a little bit better. Sometimes if the weight's too heavy, because at the pace we're moving a little quicker here, you might, it's more like momentum just moving the weight. So if we can, lighten it up, okay, and focus on when our arm is extended, feeling that back of the arm contract there, okay? If we're seated, we're toe tapping, okay? So we are just tap, 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 oops, tap. I'm gonna have to move that a little bit. Okay, so the next one is still our bob and weave, okay? So if we're standing, remember we have that slip rope, okay? So we're stepping over and under, over and under, over and under. Okay, if you're advanced and you want to hold on to a dumbbell here, over and under, over and under. Okay, so you might be ready for that. Okay, so go ahead and do that if you are. Remember, when we're seated here, what we're going to do for this variation is we're going to keep our hips wide here, but we're just focusing on that upper body half circle here. Okay, you should, and keeping the spine nice and long. We'll feel a nice stretch through the spine there. The last one, rope pull. Okay, standing, remember, we got to tuck the pelvis, keep this all tight. Okay, I'm squeezing everything so that I can really put a little gusto into that, okay? All right, here we go. Starting with our ham curls and our kickbacks, okay? So 40 seconds is going back on the clock. Let's get ready and begin, okay? So remember, if you're seated with me for round 1, we're toe tapping. When your arms are extended long, you're really telling the back of the arm to contract. Squeeze. Five, 2, and 1. Okay. Next, we are going to our bob and weave. Remember, if you're advanced and you'd like to add a single dumbbell here, okay, you can hold it up at the chest. Seated variation, my knees are wide. And I'm going over and under with just the upper body. No side step here. Side steps for the standing variation. You feel this half circle that you're doing for the seated variation, lengthening through the spine. Rope pull is next, okay? 2, and 1, okay? Seated or standing, we have that rope pull. Okay, remember, if you're standing, really engage the glutes, the legs, okay? Get nice, strong, stable base as we pull down. Put just a little bit of intensity here. Promoting healthy posture through these back exercises. 2, and one. That is round one. Going back to the top. I am going to move to standing for the next 2 rounds. We've got our ham curls and our tricep kickbacks. Okay, ready and begin. Remember, when my elbows are extended, I'm squeezing the back of the arm. On the sticky start part of the floor, so never know where they're at. You'd think I know by now. 2 and 1. Okay. Woo. Bob and weave. Take your drinks as you need it. Okay. Don't let the timer stop you from taking one if you need it, or if you need a little extra recovery time. I'm picking the advanced version with the weight here today. You do not have to use the weight. And you can always go to the chair version as well. Over and under. Over and under. Good. Now 5 more seconds here. And time. Okay. Whew. Next, we have that rope pull. Okay, seated or standing. Standing, remember, tuck and scoop, core engaged, glutes engaged, quads engaged, pull down. Show you from the side. Actually becomes not only a back and cardio exercise, but a core exercise, because we're holding everything nice and tight in the midsection, and it's called anti-rotation. Right, we work the core by not letting it rotate. If I let everything go, this is what my body would want to do. If I wasn't holding everything tight, it would want to naturally just swing with it. So it's anti-rotation core work by keeping everything still as movement takes us, side to side. One more round, guys. Ham curl and kickback, okay? Here we go. Seated or standing. Remember, if you're seated, it's a little more of a toe tap here. Less than 10 seconds. Last round through. 2 and time. Woo, all done with those. Back to our final round of bob and weave. Okay. Weight is optional here. Okay. We're going to sidestep over and under. Remember, in the seated variation, we're just kind of doing that half circle with the upper body. The legs just stay stationary in a wider stance. Three, 2, and 1. Woo, okay. Last one, rope pull. Okay, then we're going into our final block. All right. Okay, core tight, glutes tight, everything engaged. Again, if I didn't have muscle tension, if I wasn't creating that tension throughout my body here, my glutes squeezing here and everything, it would look like this, right? It'd be a floppy fish, right? We're trying to keep everything tight. Pull, pull. Two and one. Woo. Okay, get a drink, guys. Final set of exercise, 45, 15, 3 exercises. Switching this one up a little bit. I'm going to start by showing you the standing variation of side lateral raises. Okay, so I'm holding onto the back of my chair. Think of like bar, like a ballerina bar, okay? With a pointed or flexed foot, I'm gonna say flexed, you're gonna feel a little more, but if it feels too intense, maybe point your toe, and that'll alleviate some of the muscle intensity through the side of the glute here, okay? We're gonna alternate, we're gonna do 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, other side, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're just going to keep on going through 5 per side. Okay, so the leg that's staying still, you're working this one just by keeping it up, right? Okay, just holding, supporting the rest of your body. Okay, flexing the foot, like I said, is going to give you a little more. You're going to have more intensity if you can keep that heel off the ground. But if you need to bring it down in between your repetitions, that's okay too. All right, our seated variation is just going to simply be our abduction. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then the other side, okay? After that, we're going to do an alternating knee raise and twist, so seated. So you have a slight rotation through the upper body as that knee comes up, working our obliques, okay? Standing. Again, the noisy exhale is going to help push that air out of the belly, give you that nice little contraction in the deepest abdominal layer. Okay, so noisy exhale. You can only hear me, so. Okay, and our last one is just like last week, standing. We're going into that sumo squat stance. So our heels are right outside the width of our shoulders, toes are out. We're going to lower down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up, 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, 1, 2, 3, 4. Drive it up, 1. Okay, so from 4 jabs to 4 lateral raises. If we're seated, we're just going to lateral tap, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then lateral tap, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how our sequence will go, okay? All right, so this is it. Final block, guys. Like usual, round 1, I will be seated. So let's go ahead and get 45 seconds on the clock. We're starting with our chair-supported lateral leg raises, 5 per side. Now, if you need to adjust that number, if 3 per side or 4 per side is a better number, you go ahead and adjust it to a number that you like better, okay? All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, we got the standing lateral leg raises, or you're with me. 3, 4, 5, 2. Three, 5, and time. Okay, I'm just going to finish it off because I want to be even. Okay, so the next one here is our alternating knee raise and twist. Okay, so we're just kind of rotating over that knee that's elevated. Here we go. Remember that noisy exhale helps with that abdominal contraction as the knee raises. Like oblique twist. Also lower abs by lifting that knee. Almost there, 10 seconds. 5, and 1. Okay, and then the last one is our sumo squat hold. So in the lower position, you're going to jab 4, then you're going to drive up, and then you're going to lateral raise 4. Okay, I'm doing seated, so I'm going to do an alternating lateral tap. Here we go. So I'm going to lateral tap, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. 10 seconds. And time. Okay, that was round 1. I'm going to go to the standing variations now. Stay seated if you prefer it. We've got 5 per side, or you can adjust that number if you want here for your lateral leg raises. Okay, I'm just going to stick with the 5 and go 5. 1, other side. My recommendation would be, as long as it doesn't cause discomfort, keep the flexed foot. But again, you need to be your own, use your own good judgment for your body and how it's feeling. Less than 10 seconds. And time. I'm just finishing up my side again. Okay. Next, we have our knee raise and twist. Okay. Seated or standing. And 3, 2, and 1. So I'm exhaling and twisting slightly over that front knee. About 15 more seconds here. Now 10. Now 5. 2, and 1. Whew, I'm feeling that. Okay. Now we have our sumo squat hold with 4 jabs at the bottom to stand with 4 lateral flies. Remember, seated, you're alternating lateral abduction, and then in between you alternate your jabs and your lateral raises. Here we go. Lower down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Drive it up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back down. Drive it up. Drive it down. Up. And down. Five seconds. And time. Okay. Final round, guys. Okay, back to those lateral leg raises. All right. You pick anywhere from 3 to 5 per side where you're seated abduction. Okay. Here we go. Again, my preference, my recommendation is keeping that foot flexed and leading through the heel, but that's only if your body feels comfortable with that. Remember, understanding the difference between a little muscle discomfort from, performing the exercise correctly and fatiguing the muscle, besides acute sharp pain, which is trying to tell you that injury is, next. Okay, so you want to avoid that acute sharp pain, but you want to lean into a little bit of exercise discomfort. Okay, understanding the difference. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, all done with those. Final round of alt knee raise and twist, seated or standing. In 5, 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. Last round of these. Halfway. Ten seconds. 5, 2, and 1. Whew, feel those. Okay. All right, this is it, guys. Sumo squat with 4 jabs in the lowered position to 4 lateral raises in the elevated position. Heels outside the width of the shoulder. Ready? And sink it down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Drive it up. 10 seconds. And time. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and get a drink real quick. We're just going to do a quick stretch out here. So when you're ready, let's start with our forward fold on the back of the chair here. Okay, so my hands, the palms are on the tall end of the chair, and I'd rather show this part of my body. This is the shape I'm trying to mimic here. I'm not locked out at the knees, but they're relatively straight, okay? I'm not here, right? I'm here, all right, protecting the joint. If you can, you're trying to get your arms up to about ear height, but you're not forcing it. If your body is not ready to go there, just go where it's ready to be. If it's ready to be here, that's okay, all right? Just work within that range. You can kind of sway the hips side to side here. If you're in the chair, okay, let's go ahead and just do a forward fold here, okay? And you just wide stance with the knees here, okay? And I'm just kind of side to side, feeling either side of my spine get a little bit of a stretch as I drop one shoulder towards the opposite foot and then the other, okay? So either of these stretches. All right. From here, let's go ahead into a seated position, and we just did kind of like a fold. Now we're going to do a twist. So we're going to go ahead and look over that back shoulder, or, look over in that general direction. You can apply your opposite hand on the outside of that opposite thigh. And same thing, arc it over and release to the other side. Good, and we'll finish up with a figure 4 stretch. Okay, we can all be seated for this one. You're gonna cross that leg over. You're gonna keep that foot flexed, okay? And you're just, it doesn't take much. I'm keeping the spine long. I'm trying not to round. I'm trying to stay lengthened. And it doesn't take much of a lean forward for you to start to feel this area stretch. We did a lot of side work today. Good. And then let's release and go ahead and do that same thing on the other side. This stretch right here is a great variation. If you're laying in bed, okay, and you're kind of like on your back, to do this by grabbing underneath this leg, okay, and doing it from a supine or, on your back position. The stretch feels really nice. So if you're not a fan of getting up and down off the floor, it might be something you want to try from your bed too. All right, guys, and relax. Let's go ahead and inhale up, palms together. Exhale to heart. One more. And exhale. All right, thanks for coming today, guys. Let me know.